Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the NoDQ review number 85 here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel. I am being joined by the NoDQ panel, Team NoDQ. Let me introduce first the moderator for the NoDQ review, as always. Virtue, how's it going, man?
Good, man. We're doing this on a Tuesday night. What's going on Thursday this week? Are we doing more predictions?
More predictions. We just had predictions last week for Super Showdown and Revolution, and now we got another pay-per-view coming up, Elimination Chamber. Not much build for this pay-per-view, that's for sure.
Well, we got to get a no DQ review live in the bag, and here we go. Number 85, and I am Virtue, being joined again by the elite panel of no DQ. Big G is on assignment, but he will be back in the future. As always, I'm joined by Aaron Rift, the remarkable Robbie Weiss, and Son G. I'm not going to even bother with your last name. So you introduce yourself. Welcome aboard, man.
Hey,
You've been here before.
Son Goshiwaku here. Typical introduction for me from past 10 years. Hey, I'm ready to break down the week of wrestling. Glad to be here with you gentlemen tonight.
Well, good to have you. And thanks for joining, by the way. Last minute, I love it. I love keeping Aaron on the edge of his seat. Robbie, what's up,
man? It's this weather's been killing my asthma, which makes me sound like an uber nerd. Watched a lot of wrestling. I paid $50 to watch AEW. I'm sure everyone's really thrilled to hear what I have to say about that, especially that Orange Cassidy match. But it's been an interesting week. I really want to dive in and talk to it. We have a new panel member we haven't had in a while, so I think it's going to have some new opinions and dynamics, and I'm looking forward to a good show.
All righty. And Aaron Rift,
What's
up?
Great.
Any last words before we get started?
I'm very excited to discuss this past week in wrestling because there is a lot to discuss. We got two pay-per-views to give our final thoughts on and a pretty eventful Monday Night Raw. Just a quick reminder to everybody in the chat room, feel free to send in your comments on whatever we're discussing. Some of the best comments will be shown right on the video, and also feel free to send in a super chat. The super chats will be shown on the screen as well, but please try to stick to the topic so I don't have to wait till later to try and put the comment in the right spot in the video. So that'll just help me a little bit. Anyways, I'm ready to go, Virtue. Let's go ahead and get this thing started.
So let's start. We'll go back a little bit to Super Showdown because, it was in Saudi Arabia. WWE loves to do these shows because they get money. They made it back okay this time. They made it back okay last time. Undertaker was there, of course. Meddled a little bit with AJ Styles. And, of course, we had Goldberg beating the Fiend in 3 minutes and change. And, look, we talk about how the Fiend became the champion in Saudi Arabia against Seth Rollins. Maybe that shouldn't have happened. Maybe Bray doesn't need a title with that character. But since they gave it to him, they should have treated him more with respect. But how I feel what it is, Vince McMahon doesn't want anybody to get too big. And when they do, newer generation people, if they do, he pulls back on them. And that's exactly what happened with the Fiend. Bray Wyatt, look, I know his matches weren't the greatest as the Fiend. We know he can work. He had really good matches as Bray Wyatt before. They could have figured out a way to make this Fiend work. I don't know what they weren't happy with. Remember the program with The Miz for 2 weeks? That's the stuff that I expect out of the Fiend. The dark, creepy stuff. They could have built a whole thing creeping on The Miz for months. But when you put the title on him, this is what happens. And they wanted to go with Goldberg Reigns, which we'll talk about later. What's everybody's thoughts about this show? Robbie, I'm going to start with you. I hate Goldberg. I respect the fact that he makes his money, right?
Sure.
But, when management, Vince McMahon and the management hated this guy at one point. Now he comes back, wins 2 titles in a Hall of Fame. What changed? Why is Goldberg their savior? Who made Goldberg, WCW, and Eric Bischoff? I can't believe Vince is running with something he didn't create. What do you think, man?
Goldberg apparently is a draw to the stupid fans and the fans who just want to see big dumb guys do things. But he can't do moves anymore. I mean, that match that he won with wasn't even a jackhammer. It was 3/4 of a suplex. Even though 15 stomps, 3 sledgehammer hits, hitting hit with the stairs, that didn't put away the Fiend. But my God, a crappy suplex did. And you know what? I hated Goldberg in WCW as a kid. My favorite Goldberg memory is when Scott Hall cattle prodded him at the pay-per-view to make him lose his streak. So, I don't know. I hated it. I hated everything about it.
Now, is there anything else from Super Showdown, like Undertaker, AJ? Is this the right direction? Do we have to always have Undertaker?
I mean, yeah, you do. And if you're going to have him, why not AJ Styles? AJ's at least going to be safe. It's going to be better than him and the Oldberg when they fought. Really, Goldberg set the gold standard of what an Undertaker match shouldn't be. And as long as it's not that, people are going to eat up the entrance. You know what? If he has a cool entrance and they have a memorable spot and they don't have any botches, it's a victory for Undertaker, and everyone's going to talk about it. They're going to love it. So.
All right, I gotcha. Now, Son, I want to know your thoughts on these matches. Anything else from Super Showdown that stuck out good or like a sore thumb to you?
Well, I was really only interested in about 3 matches. I'll start with AJ and Undertaker. So when I was at the gym doing cardio, I skipped the first 30 minutes of the show, and here comes Taker. I'm like, oh, okay, he choke slams. I'm like, wow, they one-shotted AJ Styles with one choke slam. But I'm like, it was probably a 30-minute brawl, so okay, he battered and broken and whatever. And then I'm listening to Aaron's review, and he's talking about how the whole match was like gag after gag, and I'm like, wow, I like just one-shotting AJ Styles. But if AJ gets his win back, then I guess it will be okay. So I actually was a Goldberg fan as a kid. And I respect for what he's done for the business, but I can't defend this. This is my issue is that I feel like every time there's a hot character or a hot storyline that happens with WWE, they just like cut it just right under from its legs or whatever. And I just felt that Goldberg right now, this is why we can't get new stars. You have to take someone like Goldberg, have the Fiend beat him, so that way people who are checking out like from Goldberg back in the day, like, wow, this Fiend character is pretty cool. That's my whole thing. And I think they probably put the title on the Fiend too early anyways, but if you're gonna go there, then go all the way with it, and that's what I feel like they did not do.
Yeah, good point. Aaron Rift, I know you've talked about this. Anything you'd like to add?
I guess with AJ Styles, I understand why it was done the way it was, because he's apparently still recovering from his shoulder injury, and he's very limited in what he can do. And as we saw on Raw, they basically did an angle, so he only had to work a very short match with Aleister Black. WWE's trying to keep him healthy for WrestleMania, but I just thought it made AJ look really weak, and yeah, I was very disappointed with the Bray Wyatt thing. And on top of that, looking at SmackDown, they set up John Cena versus Bray Wyatt, and Bray just comes out there and points at the sign, which I guess will get some sort of explanation. He'll say he wants to get revenge from WrestleMania 30, but I personally really wanted to see the Fiend stay champion through the end of the year. Survivor Series is coming up, and it's reportedly going to be in Dallas, Texas, 30 years to the day that Undertaker made his debut. It's going to be on my birthday, November 22nd, and I think it would have been so awesome if the Fiend had stayed undefeated. He beat Roman Reigns, he beat John Cena, he beats everybody on the roster, and then Undertaker, for his final match, faces Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, 30-year anniversary of his debut. Man, that would have been so cool. But nope, WWE just...
Now, Aaron, I've seen people say it's, well, Bray Wyatt just not a draw, and house shows were canceled. How long has WWE been on decline with ratings and house shows? You can't just blame any particular person that happens to be at the top at that time. Let's go back to WrestleMania last year. The numbers went down even more. They put the title on Becky, Kofi, and Rollins, right? Not their fault, but they just don't have the magic they used to. And fans want certain people to be champions. When it happens,
one has that magic anymore, though. They don't let people get there.
Because it's the NXT factory, and they stop them at the glass ceiling because they're afraid of the Cenas or the Lesnars getting too big where they got to pay them too much money, and then they can do anything in the world.
But it's also when Hogan went to WCW, I think that ended Vince McMahon ever letting someone get bigger than the company ever again.
I mean, Stone Cold and The Rock happened after that. So.
Yeah, but Vince was also busy being on the shows, and he didn't have as much time to plan that out. Plus, that was in a situation where he was either going to lose his company or he was going to win. That was a fight for life situation. It hasn't happened since, and I don't think as long as Vince is in charge, you'll ever see someone get as big as The Rock again. He didn't even really let Cena go that far. Had Cena had a good heel run somewhere in there and evolved his character, he could have became what Hogan was. He could have been there, but they let him climb so high, but he still hasn't beat Flair's record yet. And I don't know if they're ever going to let him do that. So I just don't think Vince has it in him to let that happen anymore.
Would that not have been something though? Fiend going into WrestleMania as the Universal Champion, and
absolutely,
John Cena, and that but
Cena
let's not
even put his career on the line and actually retired, and they could have continued
Think about
to build
the intrigue that would have had.
Man,
let's talk about AEW here. Son, I'll start with you. Revolution. Did you watch it?
I saw highlights of it, but I had some friends that went to it. But I'm up to date on everything that's been happening. I wouldn't have mind Jericho going a little bit longer, but overall, I'm glad that they put the title on Moxley. I feel like John Moxley is really coming into what I wish WWE could have made. They called him a lunatic fringe for so long, but it just seemed like he was this goofy comedy guy off the street. Whereas now it feels like he really is unhinged, and so I'm enjoying that, and I'm looking forward to see what they're going to do with Moxley. I like how they're keeping the MJF story going on with Cody. I think it's been one of the biggest things that's been well built up. And I thought the whole thing with Hangman Page and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks is going good. I'm very interested to see how far they're going to go with Hangman Page, because I think he's a lot more over than he was a year ago when he faced faced Jericho and everything. So I think AEW overall is just going in the right direction. Some storylines, some characters, more things are building up. Not perfect yet, but nothing is. But I think right now they're going in the right direction.
All right, great points. Now, Rob, hold on. Aaron, I'm going to go to you. This is rehash for you. I know you talk about it. Jericho, to me, did what he needed to do. First ever AEW champion, held it like 4 months. I don't mind losing to Moxley. And I know we get the, WWE guy to WWE guy, right? The eye patch thing was great. He faked it. That's how I got one up over on the heel. MJF got his win, right? You can't beat an up-and-comer like that. We'll talk about Cody's tattoo later. And then we have the Orange Cassidy spot. And it's still, I have mixed feelings with that. But he was in the middle of the card. Well, no. When was it? Was it in between the main events?
It was semi-main.
Semi-main. So, Aaron, last thoughts on Revolution.
I think Sun said it very well. AEW is moving in the right direction. They put on a great pay-per-view that I thought was worth every penny. And I think Moxley was absolutely the right choice to represent the company. And people could say, he's a former WWE guy, but he's making his own identity now. He's not just coasting off of his WWE persona. He's reinventing himself and doing his own thing, which is what Jericho has done. Jericho, he ditched the WWE stuff. He's not doing the list in AEW. He came into AEW and did his own thing and recreated himself, changed things up. Hulk Hogan, when he became Hollywood Hogan, that was a reinvention. It wasn't a WWE thing. It was Hogan and WCW doing something completely different, and that's what worked. So Moxley is doing that. He's changing his character. He's doing something different from WWE. And that promo was so great from him at the end. You can't help but root for the guy. You really feel his passion for wrestling. And yeah, the show was very solid. I enjoyed Orange Cassidy. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think that wrestling is very absurd more times than not. So to me, it doesn't bother me, because I've seen Kane shooting fireballs at people. I've seen Mae Young giving birth to a hand. So I've seen it all. I've seen Papa Shango giving the Ultimate Warrior a voodoo curse. We've seen lots of ridiculous things over the years, but that's what makes wrestling fun to me. So I loved AEW Revolution.
There you go. And I like the show too. Robbie, this Orange Cassidy thing, how often is it somebody that's supposed to be as smart as a Pac going to just look at him doing the nonchalant stuff, knowing that at some point he's going to try and he can wrestle, so you would just beat the shit out of him right from the get-go. That's why I can't see how this sustains if he's not just a manager or AEW Santino Marella. So have at it. Talk about anything from AEW Revolution. That's what the people here want to hear.
I thought it was a fantastic show. I wasn't upset I spent $50 on it. I liked seeing Colt Cabana pop out. He's not my favorite, but it was a neat spot. It was well done. I loved the Orange Cassidy Pac thing. It was borderline dumb, but it was it was entertaining, and I was entertained throughout the entire match. Seeing Marco Stunt in the crowd dropped me 25% of a letter grade, and Cody's tattoo dropped me another 25% of a letter grade, which is fine. I gave it a B+. But
that's the next topic.
But I thought it was probably one of the best pay-per-views I've seen in a while. Hangman Page is really coming into his own now. I really like they teased turning on Kenny Omega and setting up for that buckshot lariat. That was a tense moment that I liked. The women's division is trash still, but Nyla Rose, I think, is the right champion. And I think Nyla Rose, I still feel they missed the boat on the Awesome Kong Nyla Rose match, because that just could have been a lot of fun, a lot of big spots. But man, Moxley at the end, he dropped the F-bomb casually. He's himself. He's reinvented himself, like you said, Aaron. It was just an absolutely incredible thing to watch. Everything about that match was just very well done. And that tag team match was probably my favorite match of the night. And I'm not a huge Young Bucks fan, but they really put on a show. And like I said, outside of the terrible tattoo and some of the other stupid Marco stunt being in the crowd, it was one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Yeah, and good points. Aaron?
All right, we do have a few super chats here. I'll do the first one from Power Packers 90. He sent in a $5 super chat. I'm not sure if the other guys heard that, but Power Packers 90 says it's mind games like Gold Dust would do. I'm not sure what he was referring to, actually, but probably something that you were talking about, Robbie. Thank you for the super chat, Power Packers. And then we do have another one from the Cleaver, Colin Andrew. Colin Andrew says, who will take the title from Jon Moxley? So I guess we can all give our predictions. I'm not sure yet. It could be MJF. Virtue, what do you think?
I think Chris Jericho. I think Chris Jericho will win it back and become two-time champion. And then that will probably be his last run, and then he'll be there as the guy to get younger guys over. That's just what I think. I thought his title reign should have been longer, but the Moxley thing, it did feel right as it happened, because Jericho came out with that entrance with the choir. You build for a match like that, right? I almost wish this was a WrestleMania. You build to have that as your main event, and they delivered. And WWE can take notes. This is how you do a story. Even if we say they did it too soon and they could have stretched it a little bit longer, I sat there when it was over. I didn't care who won or lost, because I was like, damn, that's how you do professional wrestling. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But I think Jericho is going to win it back. I don't know when, but I think he's going to win it back before they go to somebody else.
Interesting. Josh, what do you think?
Maybe MJF. Whoever is going to be it, I guess they would be the first non-former WWE World Champion to win the AEW Championship. So I find that fascinating. I gotta say, we're looking at it right now. Either Hangman Page if they want to go with a babyface, MJF if they want to go with a heel.
All right, and Vice, what do you think?
So I think that Moxley's going to have this for a while. I think it's safe to say he's probably 6 to 8 months. He's probably going to hold this. I think slowly Moxley will devolve into a heel, an uncontrollable person, and people in the back, kayfabe-wise, are going to start to get sick of him. And Cody's going to have to go back on his word to save his company, and that could be the big story of Cody, doing what's best for the company, regardless of whether he goes back on his word or not. I think it'll be Cody, because Cody's got to be champ at some point. I know he put that stipulation there, but Dusty did the same thing back in the day, and they found ways around it. But I think that's the most compelling story, is for Moxley to go kind of crazy, and the only one who's really going to rein him in is going to be Cody.
For the record, I go Jericho wins it back at the next event, at the next big event, whenever they have the rematch, because the Inner Circle, I mean, they kind of looked foolish for none of their help to get Jericho to keep the title. So I just feel like you got to do something like that. I mean, what would Hollywood Hogan do? Probably win the title back, right? Didn't he win it a few times?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of similarities to WCW and AEW. So that's why I'm going to go with my gut, and Jericho will have it one more time. I mean, maybe there's a little bias there, right? Because I'm a Jericho mark, but we'll see. Moving on. Ready? Let's talk about it, because we kind of overlapped here. Aaron, I'll start with you. Cody's tattoo. I have no problem with people inking up their body, right? Orton's done it. CM Punk's done it. Wrestlers do it. That's just what they do. I get it. It's his logo or whatever it was, but who says it's a good idea? Now, we might have to wait this one out, but I don't see Cody as a tat guy to get all of his neck tattooed, because to make that not look so bad, you have to get other work around it. And is Cody really going to have all these neck tattoos? It's weird. Remember Tyson got it around his eye, but that's Mike Tyson. Probably a CTE. So, Aaron, what's your thoughts here? I don't hate it. I just hate where it's at.
Yeah, I agree. It sticks out like a sore thumb, but it's his body, it's his decision, and like I said on the live stream, I think people will get used to it over time, and maybe he will add more tattoos around the area so it doesn't look quite as awkward. It's just funny that Brandy wasn't even a big fan of it. She publicly said that she did not like it, but at the end of the day, it's his body, his decision, and I think again over time people will just get used to it. So. Not much else
I thought
to
it
say
was
about
paint at first.
Yeah, me too.
I was thinking it was going to like rub off.
I think a lot of us were thinking that.
Hoping.
Robbie Vice, you got a tattoo on your neck?
No, I have no tattoos because I'm a coward. It looks neat. It looks like the M. Bison Shadowloo logo thing from Street Fighter, kind of, with an American flag over it. The design is cool, but I've done a lot of hiring in my lifetime, and I know I would never hire someone with a neck tattoo, as biased as that sounds, but it's dumb. Like, it just looks
an
kind of dumb.
executive vice president. But again, in the wrestling world, it's different, right?
He needs to get some other stuff done, because Orton's tattoos looked pretty stupid until he finished some of the sleeves too early on. So we'll see. And, we may just get used to it and never see it. I kind of thought Lesnar's Excalibur tattoo on his chest was stupid, but eventually I got used to that too. So, you know what, man? We'll see. I did knock it off 0.25% of a letter grade. And maybe if I get used to it, I'll just randomly give that back to him on another review.
Well, he can wear turtlenecks. Anyway,
Ew, God.
What do you think? What do you think of this great Are you going to put it over?
Honestly, I probably got the least to say. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about it. I really don't care about it. Literally, when I think they did the zoom in shot when he got on the ropes and everything, and I was like, "Oh, Cody has a new tattoo," and then I just moved on. I was actually more in trying to hear was the Downstreet. I was trying to listen to their performance pretty much more so. But he's got a neck tattoo, and it is what it is.
What did you think of that performance? Yeah. That live performance.
The choir was better.
Yeah, definitely the choir. I thought it was okay. I agree with Aaron said in his review. It sounded better in studio, but I thought it was still pretty okay. But yeah, I actually, while we're on the subject of the choir, I think it's really cool. The woman that actually sung that, she was just randomly putting it out there on Twitter, and Chris Jericho messaged her 2 days afterwards to say, "Hey, get a choir together," and then now there she is. So I think that's a great lesson for everybody out there. When you put your work out there, social media, you never know what could happen. So,
and it's about time he got his WrestleMania entrance. Now I know WrestleMania he had a list or whatever, a blow up list.
I was at that WrestleMania. Yeah, I was at that WrestleMania.
But it's good to see Jericho getting some of those little extra perks because he's Chris Jericho. So from going from stupid to stupider, the payoff for Eric Rowan was a spider, which clearly is fake. Like
that he bought at Spencer's.
Who did he piss off? Who did Eric Rowan piss off? He was getting kind of pushed. And now he seems like he's a jobber. They revealed what was in the cage. It's fake. Like, this is Aaron, I'll start with you. This is Papa Shango stuff, right? So bad. So what do you think?
Well, I'm a little distracted because I just saw Robbie's cat lay down in the background there, throwing me off little bit.
Aaron loves his cats.
Yeah, It would have been better if it was like a cute kitten. They might as well have gone with a comedy thing because the spider was dumb. I'm not sure what else they could have gone with, though, but Mae Young's hand... They could have gone with Al Snow's head.
Just a big rat. Just a big rat with big teeth.
Yeah.
But that tarantula bit someone's face, didn't it? Wouldn't that have killed them?
They could have gone with one of those African bullfrogs. It's pretty big and it can fit in a cage like that. And they can bite you, man. Like, people got to watch out. If you stick your finger in front of an African bullfrog, it might think it's a mouse or something, and it will bite your hand or finger. So they could have gone with a real animal, and I think that would have been better than the spider. And the bullfrog would have just been disturbing anyways. People are grossed out by big, giant, fat frogs. So, yeah, they could have done something else, and whatever. They spent 4 months on it. It's done, and now we move on to something else.
All right. There you go. Marin Riff. Robbie, what happened with, remember the Wyatts versus the Shield? What happened? Like, look what happened with the Fiend. Now we know he's getting the match with John Cena. Harper's out of the company. Look at what's happening with Rowan. Strowman, right, supposed to be the next heavyweight champion. He's the Intercontinental champion. This is what the factory of NXT never getting past the glass ceiling. Like, This Rowan just really puts it in perspective to me.
So
Like it's a joke to Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon elevates talent about as well as my Cleveland Browns do. It's not good. I don't know what they were thinking with the spider. Like, he pulled it out, and I thought it was a joke at first. And I didn't even think he was going to do it because all they did was say please. But I'm pretty sure other people who have asked nicely, he showed it to them. And then remember they had blood on their hands. And, like, what the hell are they feeding this spider that it's, like, eating people? It's, like, literally just, like, blood everywhere. It was dumb. I don't know. I don't even want to talk about it because it was literally... It's not quite as bad as It's Me, Austin, but it's between It's Me, Austin, and Mae Young giving birth to a hand on just stupid things that I don't care about.
What if every week now he reveals something else out of that cage? And it's
then
like a big...
sure. As long as it's not a big robot spider from Spencer's that WWE bought for $60, I don't care. It's fine.
All right.
Aaron, you got some?
Yeah, we do have a $5 super chat from Big G.
Big G, team player.
He is a team player. He says, "What up, my peeps? Just dropping by from my assignment for the NoDQ team." He's doing some research in Baltimore because WWE, I believe it's Money in the Bank, is going to be in Baltimore, Maryland, coming up in just a couple of months. And Big G is out and about getting some research done, to give me some information about the pay-per-view. Thank you for that, Big G. And son, any thoughts you have on the Spider-Man, or what would you like to have seen from that? What would have been your...
Well, yeah.
He's a
the
loss
spider
for
broke
words.
him.
So when he comes back, well, here's what I'm thinking. It would have been better off if he took the cloak off of the cage and nothing was in it, but he saw something and it was just like invisible. Like that would be better than what this mechanical spider was. Nuts. Son, you're back.
I'm back. Okay,
Thoughts
all right.
on the
What
spider.
happened
I
there?
took over for you. No
All
worries.
right, all right,
on
yeah.
the
So
spider.
with the Spire, to piggyback off of your discussion and everything you had on your review, Aaron, I think if they're not gonna push Rowan, go all the way with this. Bring back some great memorabilia of comedy moments from all of professional wrestling. Like, let's every week, what's gonna be in there? Like, they can take out the glitter stormtrooper helmet. Then maybe they can bring out what was the little mask that Kevin Nash had with Oz, and like you were saying, head, or bring out the
Vic driver's license.
There you go. Or even better, hey, bring out the lockbox and let us know what was in there from that storyline. Just like all the over-the-top stuff they can think about from the past. Each week, something in there. And I would look forward every single time Eric Rowan comes out in the match, because it's a shame they're not going to push him, but hey, at least make this fun.
Yeah.
And that's what WWE does. They come up with ideas. They make you think they're going in one direction, and then it's over.
Yeah. Now,
So let's
Virtue.
move on. Yeah, go.
I'm not sure if you have this as a topic, but a lot of people in the chat room want us to know about Ricochet. Now, son, since you are filling in for Big G, I guess we're going to do his segment for you. And the question is, agree or disagree with the following statement. The statement is, was Ricochet buried on Monday Night Raw? Your thoughts, son?
Well, he did have a lengthy match, but if this keeps up, he probably was, because 90 seconds against Brock Lesnar, they gave him no respect, and then they had him lose. I forget the guy's name.
We didn't even mention it when we talked about Super Showdown.
I see, yeah. And then I see they lost him, yeah, because I'm still. What's the guy that he lost to? Was it what is his name? What is his name? Was it Moss or something like that?
Rick Moss.
Rick Moss, yeah. So yeah, he's like with who was it? Man, I'm forgetting all about the 24/7. Shows you how much I've been paying attention to the 24/7 title. But yeah, that guy I know is pretty low right now. They haven't even built him up as much as Ricochet. And if he's gonna keep losing this, then yeah, it might end up being a burial. And I know a lot of people like to throw that term around. And I try to wait it out, but it's not looking too good.
Yeah.
But Ricochet has no character, so who cares? What his whole motivation is to do flips and do things that other people who can do promos do better. I don't care about Ricochet. Bury him, get him off my TV, put him in developmental until he learns how to talk.
If he was Hispanic, Vince McMahon would be giving him more, probably wins because.
Possibly.
But it's just he was a toy that Vince McMahon played with for a little bit, and then he threw it back in the box. I mean, that's what happened.
He's a stupid babyface though. He falls into the Aaron Rift category of like where you just do stupid babyface things and you just don't learn. And it's just like I've seen him just do that a few times and I just don't care anymore. When he comes on TV, you know what? I'm gonna say this. Marco Stunt is better than Ricochet.
Ooh, Marco Stunt is more over than Ricochet, huh?
I would rather watch Marco Stunt do something because at least he has a character and a personality when he talks.
Well, at least the company's pushing him. He's part of that group, right?
Yeah.
What's WWE doing with Ricochet? Absolutely nothing. So from that point of
Ricochet
view,
is now public enemy number 1 for Robbie Vice.
Okay, now,
All right,
quick
Aaron.
here, before we go any further, we do have a super chat from the This Guy Experience. So let's pop this one up. And he says, what about Hornswoggle being in the cage? He might be able to fit, maybe, if you squeeze him in.
And they have a pretty big cage.
Yeah.
that would have been actually funny. I mean, you would have needed a bigger cage, but like
They could have set it on the table and had that old gag where it's just his head's in there under the table.
Hey,
that would have been perfect.
You know what would have been a better idea? If WWE was going to have like an animatronic, why not a replica of Eric Rowan's own severed head, and it would move and bite people and stuff like that? Like, that would have been better than a spider.
I mean, any idea we've said has been better than the mechanical spider, so.
But that's WWE for you. They think they're popping kids or something, you know, like kids are going to, you know, because Vince McMahon writes his shows for 7 to 12-year-olds. I mean, that's what's happened the past decade. But anyway, we'll move on. Becky Lynch. So we know she's going to face, well, we don't know yet that she's going to face Shayna Baszler, even though it's pretty obvious at WrestleMania. Is it just me, Rob? I'm going to start with you on this one. Is she becoming a walking, talking emoji? Like, I'm all about character development. Well, boy, did this man thing just kind of like disappear, and now she's trying to be like Lady Gaga, different fashion, the glasses. Like, I'm confused. Like, what? Becky Lynch? And of course, her fans will back this up or, you know, support this, but I think she's looking stupid.
I disagree. I commend Becky Lynch for what she's doing because she's at least attempting. Not everyone who reinvents themselves gets it right the first time. The fact that they're letting her try something new, the fact that she's trying to reinvent herself, because the man thing has been going for a year. It's not going to ride another year and another year. It's not going to be like a Ric Flair thing where he gets to claim that forever. I think that what she's doing is more flamboyant.
What is it that she's doing? No, explain.
She's in the midst of transitioning between gimmicks. That's why it's awkward right now. It's kind of like when you grow your hair out. We've all grown our hair out at some point in our life, back when I still could. But like, you know, that part where you're in between growing your hair out and it looks kind of dumb and you just got to deal with it. That's where Becky Lynch is right now with this new character. It's not quite there yet. We're kind of like transitioning to figure out what she is, and it doesn't really make sense. I'm just hoping that, like long hair, eventually she cuts it off and goes back. No, I'm just kidding. I hope it just works out and we enjoy it. But I'm going to give it a chance. I like this style of character. She's going to be over the top. I think she'll find her way because she's a great performer.
Aaron, and that's your opinion, and I disagree with it, but that's what fine, you and I do. Yeah, hey, Aaron, this is she's trying to be a cartoon character. So what do you think, man?
I feel like maybe she's going to turn heel. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense to me. Like, she's getting too cocky and arrogant, too comfortable being on top. And maybe Shayna Baszler beats her at WrestleMania and that knocks her back down to earth. And maybe she reinvents herself again. But it comes off to me like her character is feeling too comfortable as champion. And maybe it's by design, but I feel like maybe I cannot give WWE enough credit for coming up with something like that. And maybe in Vince's eyes, this is a way of making her cool and give her street cred. I don't know, but I'm perplexed. Maybe it'll all work out in the end, and she'll have a great feud with Shayna Baszler. I think Shayna's going to win the title. At least that's what I would do. But Son, what do you think? Do you think what do you think is the next step for her character? Do you think she's going to turn heel, or do you think this is a way to try to get her more over with the fans and try to rebound with her momentum? What do you think is going on here with her?
Well, I would like to see some consistency because it felt like this is the direction they were going after the Royal Rumble. And then Shayna came and did the whole biting thing. And now she's like back to being this baby face with this murderous vengeance she wants. And then next week she's back to doing this. And it's kind of like, oh, were you out for this big vengeance? You know, even at the end, she's like, come on and face me up here, Shayna. Come on and face me. But it sounded like you kept telling her, Shayna, you better not. I better you, and then she's going to come out and try to whoop her and everything. So it's interesting to see where they're going. Are they really going with Shayna Baszler as a babyface and then Becky as a heel? So I don't mind if Becky's going to be with this with a heel, but it just feels like to me they're flip-flopping, and I want to see a more consistent direction. I don't know how I feel about Shayna Baszler possibly being a babyface. Hopefully we'll see if it works, if that's the direction they're going. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even mind if Becky holds the title just as long as CM Punk, and you'll need that. You'll need her to change her character up to keep things fresh. So I just hope WWE gets consistent with it. I feel like they're just going back too far with it, back and forth.
Well, thank you for that. Now I'm going to read you a tweet that I put up. I think it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. Not even the winner of the Royal Rumble is going after Becky and her title. Once you let that sink in, you'll realize Becky is going the extra mile with her new flamboyance to help garner a buzz. WWE has failed her potential historic run. Nobody is bigger than the brand of WWE. Without Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch is not the main event, and that is exactly what we're witnessing. And I like Becky. Nothing against her, but it's what we talked about, right, Robbie? The glass ceiling. And Becky got there, and she's just looking up through it. And you know who's up there? Goldberg, Lesnar.
Everyone who's 50 plus in the company.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll move on because let's talk about some of these Mania feuds that are starting to develop more and more. And I want to talk about the personal feud. This is what WrestleMania season is about for me. Orton versus Edge. I'm buying into it. I love it. Like when Randy's motivated, he's so good. And they brought Beth out. I suspected Beth would get involved and take an RKO, and she did last night. And he talked about the kids. I never expected this angle though. Orton loves Edge and Edge's kids more than Beth does. Like, that's brilliant heel work. So, Robbie, I'll start with you. To me, this is what I will be most invested in at WrestleMania because they're going to continue to tell a good personal story so that, to me, the match will mean something. What do you think?
I was trying to think of this earlier. I don't know the last time I really wanted to watch people fight or someone beat the absolute crap out of someone since Kane Undertaker back in the late 90s. I want to see Edge because it's so perfect. Edge is probably going to come out. They're going to not medically clear him. He's probably going to go against doctor's orders or whatever it is. And there's going to be a lot of spots that attack his neck that the crowd, remember when Daniel Bryan first came back, every time he took a suplex or something, you could just feel the whole crowd cringe. They're going to have a lot of spots that are going to look like it's going to really hurt. But the beauty of this is Orton is such a safe worker, and he's such a veteran and a pro. But storyline only, this is outside of MJF Cody, I have to feel this is the best storyline in wrestling. I still think MJF Cody is better right now.
No title is needed. See,
yeah,
that's
no
what
title's
wrestling's
needed.
at its best.
Right. Absolutely. It's like Macho Man DDP. It always works.
Son, what do you think about this?
I am loving it. And, at the beginning, I was saying I'd rather see Edge against new people, but WWE has sold me. I am enjoying the storyline. I love the whole villain side of Randy Orton in this particular case. I'll use an example of this anime, My Hero Academia. One of the things I've said about the anime that I like is the villains are not cookie-cut villains. They have their own they do their own heinous attacks, and then they try to back it up by guilt-tripping others. And that's exactly what Randy Orton did here in this promo with Beth Phoenix. He basically tried to defend his heinous actions and then put all the guilt on Beth Phoenix. Great heel work. And the thing about this story now, I don't know. I don't know if Randy Orton legitimately in the storyline, his character feels this way, and he's basically is really trying to guilt Beth, or if this is just him being a very evil mastermind and using very strategic motives to try and get further under Edge's skin. I'm enjoying it. I really love it. I think the only thing the storyline needs left before Edge comes back is if they can get Christian involved and he takes Christian out, then Edge comes back. Man, he's fighting for his old friend Matt Hardy, his wife Beth, and then his best friend Christian. Like, man, I think WWE is doing a great job, and this is some of Randy Orton's best villain work we've seen in a long time, I think.
And should he punt Christian? Should he punt Christian? Do you think that would be the crescendo of that build-up?
Why not? This is if there was ever a time to bring back the punt kick, it is now.
Yep.
And this
you know what? I wouldn't mind too at WrestleMania. He goes for the punt kick, and the finish is Edge pops up and hits him with the spear. Great. I would love it.
Yeah.
There you go. Great take, Aaron Rift.
Well, apparently there's going to be a stipulation for their WrestleMania match. That's what's rumored, at least. A couple of people in the chat room have mentioned the idea of an unsanctioned match, which would make sense, where Randy Orton says, I'm not legally responsible for anything that happens in the match. I could definitely see that happening. And yeah, Son, you bring up a great point. I think the most effective villains are the guys that really believe what they're doing is the right move, and they can justify their actions in their own mind. And that's what Randy Orton did on Raw, trying to put the blame on Beth Phoenix and saying, hey, I was just trying to save Edge from himself and make sure he's staying home with his family and all that stuff. So really good explanation from Orton, and I was hoping that they would have something solid. And yeah, the storyline has been great. Time will tell if Edge returns next week. He was advertised, but the Capital One Center, which is hosting Raw next week, or the Capital One Arena, I'm not sure which one it is, but the arena was advertising Edge, and now they took him off of the advertising. Maybe next week we'll see Christian show up, one more week before Edge comes back. I'd love to see Christian come back, and if he could get cleared for just one bump, man, if he took a punt, that would be the icing on the cake for this storyline. But it's really been a fantastic build for this pay-per-view. Yep. And
that keyword, Aaron, build.
Oh, and the This Guy Experience just sent us a $2 super chat. He says, so the next contract signing is Edge and RKO. I hope not, but would not shock me if they do a contract signing. I mean, we're pretty much guaranteed one, but give it to Roman and Goldberg because they got nothing else better to do anyways.
So we go from everybody being pretty excited for this match because of the build, the story, to talking about these three matches in a cluster. McIntyre-Lesnar, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. McIntyre won the Royal Rumble, right? And we know the WrestleMania is all about the winner of the Royal Rumble going on to challenge the champion at WrestleMania. McIntyre is starting to get over with the crowd because they're pushing him strong. I know for years and years and years, people wanted to see McIntyre do well. This is the same, like Aaron and I do reserve our judgment on Drew because this is the same three-man band Drew. Just like Jinder Mahal, this is the Drew McIntyre that lost to Roman last year at WrestleMania and Ricochet on numerous occasions. So when he starts winning all of a sudden, I want to see why. Like, what's that extra motivation? Because he didn't always win. And I know Vince McMahon thinks we forget. We don't. So McIntyre-Lesnar, and then these matches that just came out of the blue for WrestleMania season, because Dave Meltzer is always right. Goldberg and Reigns for the Universal Championship, and Cena and Fiend, because Fiend pointed to the WrestleMania sign. Aaron, I'll start with you. I'll give Lesnar and McIntyre the benefit of the doubt of me wanting to see it. Coming from a Roman Reigns guy, I'm pissed. And to be honest with you, I hope this match goes on last, because if it does, the fans will shit on it, because Goldberg matches deserve to get shit on. And this is with Roman in it, and I'm willing to risk that. And then Fiend and Cena, that's a good consolation prize for Fiend, but he's still going to be screwed. I mean, yeah, if he beats Cena and then he continues his dominance again, but it doesn't. Why did he lose the gold? These two matches are convoluted to me, and it's contrived because of big names for WrestleMania. So, what do you think, Aaron? Like, I'm pissed with the Goldberg thing. Like, this just bothers me.
Well, first of all, before I get started with my thoughts, Big G sent us a $2 super chat.
Just two? It's Big G. And he makes more money than any of us.
True story. He says, Randy Orton versus the Edge heads next week. Yeah, that's a possibility because they were friends of Edge. I could see that as a possibility. Maybe he gives one of them a punt. That would be pretty cool. But, of course, Christian would be even more personal. But anyways, I think of the combinations for potential matches at WrestleMania, this was probably the weakest way they could go. I think that if they were going to do Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, it should not have been for the title. I think that putting the title on the line in that match is going to make fans resent it more. I don't think Bray should have dropped the title. I think Bray versus Cena for the title would have been more appealing. And quite honestly, I think the Fiend versus Roman Reigns for the title would have been very appealing. Roman Reigns himself in an interview said he would have preferred to have faced the Fiend over Goldberg. And I think that even though people would have been concerned about Reigns beating the Fiend for the title, I still think that that would have been a more appealing match. The Fiend going on this rampage, and then Roman, the face of SmackDown, has to try and put a stop to the Fiend's carnage. That would have been great. But they didn't do it. And John Cena and the Fiend, yeah, there is that backstory, but I think it would have been better with the title on the line. So, yeah, it's a little disappointing. McIntyre and Lesnar, I like the build from Monday, and we'll see what they do with it. I mean, one would think McIntyre is going to get the title, but who knows with WWE? They may get cold feet, and we don't even get a title change. So that's my take on it at this point. But we still got 4 weeks left to build, so we'll see what happens.
And I am a mark, according to TJS in the chat. Hey, TJS, you finally got a mention in this video. Robbie. So, seriously, what do you think on these 3 matches, man? And then once you and Son take your thoughts on this, I have something. Maybe this will be the rage. What I want to say about these 3 matches and somebody not involved in any of them. So, take it away, Robbie Vice.
Okay, so the Goldberg Fiend thing is dumb. It was a bad decision. Again, I went on a rant on this earlier. The thing that confuses me is, they had this whole mystique and aura about the Fiend that if you fought him, you were changed. The only thing that changed about Goldberg is he didn't headbutt the door and have a concussion when he came out on TV last week. I mean, my God, could you ask for a more boring, predictable match? Cena versus the Fiend, that could be cool. It would be cool if Goldberg would have changed a little bit, because maybe that could have been at least hope that Cena would turn heel, even though he's never going to do it. At least that could have been lingering in the background. But I still could. Fiend's unstoppable streak versus John Cena for a title would have been much more entertaining to me. And, I think the Drew McIntyre-Lesnar thing is really, really neat. I'm sure, Lesnar will get beat up a little bit before he smashes him and pins him for 3, but it should be a pretty fun match. Right. I'm also last on the predictions league, so I guess I'm no longer the smartest guy in the room until WWE quits making bad decisions.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you're first on the predictions league, it's like you're picking what WWE is going to do. I mean, that's something you want to be a part of. Anyway, Son, what do you think? These 3 Mania colossal matches.
All right, for Drew McIntyre, and Brock Lesnar, just like Kofi last year, same thing with Drew. I've been wanting to see these guys in the world title picture. Kofi got his moment in reign. Hopefully Drew gets his reign, and I hope that he is booked better and WWE doesn't drop the ball on it. But honestly, after the whole Fiend situation, I'm not even so confident if Drew even ends up winning the match. But hopefully they do the right thing, and Drew goes on to win the title, and they keep it interesting with him going on. In terms of the Fiend and Bray Wyatt, like Aaron said, I felt it should have been title. Cena's motivation being he wants that 17th title reign, and then Fiend wants his revenge from WrestleMania 30. And the way the storyline went out, John Cena did a tremendous job on his promo, very emotional. But the second the Fiend comes out and he points at the sign, Cena looks up and he's just like, all right, it's on. After you just told us that you don't want to be at WrestleMania this year. Usually when they do these storylines, you have to build it up through several weeks. Like the person who wants the match wants to get the person's attention. Think of Shawn Michaels and Taker and Triple H when they wanted their WrestleMania rematches. But overall, Fiend.
Well, I will take over until he comes back. So, yes, out of these 3 matches, there's one guy missing. We talked about who Rowan pissed off. Who did Daniel Bryan piss off in the WWE? This guy had a historic run 6 years ago at WrestleMania 30, right? And then I truly think they never wanted to do that. They wanted Batista to win the Rumble, to go to WrestleMania and whatever, but because they got pigeonholed and the fans turned against them, they gave Daniel Bryan his run. So I'll pass it back to you in a second. So to me, I think Daniel Bryan, they never wanted him in the main event. And how do I know that? Look at WrestleMania 30. He beat Triple H, and then he beat Orton and Batista in the main event to become the champion. But what else happened at WrestleMania 30 that you would have never expected happen? Lesnar beat Undertaker. Why? Because Vince McMahon knew that would take Daniel Bryan's moment. More people would probably talk about that in the years to come than Daniel Bryan making history that night. So the fact that Daniel Bryan is not the focal point of WrestleMania this year, WWE will never commit to him. He should be, and it will always be the 50-year-olds or older club. Vince McMahon's larger-than-life guys. And look, I'm for those guys. I like the guys that generally Vince picks for the championship. But like Daniel Bryan breaks that mold. This guy is awesome. He proves he can get arenas and stadiums to chant yes or whatever he's doing at that particular time. But the office will never put him where he needs to be. So, Son, that was why I wanted to talk about these three matches, because I wanted everybody's take. Why is Daniel Bryan probably going to face Sheamus at Wrestle? I mean, it's sad. It's sickening. So you did cut out for a minute there, so I'm going to pass it back to you.
What match did I cut off on?
I think you're talking about McIntyre and Lesnar.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'll just say it over again.
Or just do it all over again.
Yeah. McIntyre. So yeah, McIntyre and Lesnar. Basically, I was for Kofi Kingston for his life to have a reign after all these years. Same thing with Drew McIntyre. So hopefully, do the right thing. I can only hope that they'll do the right thing. And if Drew wins the title, they give him a strong victory. And then for the Fiend, if I didn't mention with the Fiend and Cena, the only thing with that is by them not having the title on the line, it'd be much more interesting if Cena was going for his 17th title reign and the Fiend wants his revenge. And I think the whole idea of Cena looking out at the sign, saying, I don't want to be in this match because I want to let the newer generation go. And he looks at one thing after Fiend does the challenge and he's like, okay, I'll get in there. And it's like, after you just said all that, it just seemed weird, because I think in past it works when you actually have the person doing the challenge wants to go on and they're trying to get that person's attention. Think of Taker and Shawn in their rematch, Triple H and Taker in their rematch, and then in conclusion for Goldberg and Roman, I didn't think they need the title. It would have been a great attraction match for what they're going to do. It's probably going to be just a big spear fest, but we'll see what they do. And hopefully, if they're going to go with Roman as champion, they go all the way, because I feel like in all of Roman's title reigns, there was that one time Roman got the suspension, but I feel like they never really even go all the way with Roman, even as champion. He's supposed to be the top guy they want to go with. So just more coming down to where it feels like WWE does not go all the way with things.
Ever. So what's your thoughts? What's everybody's thoughts on Daniel Bryan? Like, to me, he should be the WWE champion going into WrestleMania or the Universal, and John Cena should be his opponent. And both their wives or sisters, or not wives or sisters, I'm thinking. But John Cena's ex-girlfriend is pregnant with another man's baby, and Daniel Bryan's wife is pregnant. I would have think this would have been a Money Mania match. Why can't we get stuff like that? Why does it have to be Vince's way? Like, especially with ratings tanking and the fans today don't want that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, Son, what do you think? Do you think Daniel Bryan should be in the mix of a major match at Mania, even though we know he's not going to be?
Definitely, this guy should always be treated as a main eventer after what he accomplished at WrestleMania 30, just through sheer fan power. I'm not even sure what match to do with Daniel Bryan, especially since they've already done the Bray Wyatt. I know Bryan himself wanted to always have a match with Nakamura, but you look at where Nakamura is at. I guess if they even did go with Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan, I guess if they got nothing better for both of them to do, they can have a great match. I was there in Chicago at Extreme Rules 2012, and those guys tear the house down. So they definitely could have good matches. Maybe it is now time to do that. So hopefully they do something big with Daniel Bryan, but definitely he should always have
say
big
Bryan
spot.
was a heel. Say Bryan was a heel and he was the champion. And then you had, I don't know how pregnant they are, but say you had the two pregnant Bella twins, Brie there for Bryan, and then Nikki with her new man, all sitting front row watching this match with Cena. That tension, that awkwardness, like,
yeah, it would make
they don't know how
tension.
to. They say when you do the real life stuff is that like just the window dressing. Again, we get it with Orton and Edge, but they stop right there, right? They don't want to. They just want the big names, and I'm just upset. Robbie, what do you think? I'm kind of pissed that Daniel Bryan's going to have a mediocre opponent. Nothing against Sheamus, but like, What did he do?
Daniel Bryan should have never dropped the title. I mean, he literally, his character when he lost his title was one of the most unique and best runs that I've seen in quite a while. And while I get why it happened, because it needed to happen, it was the right time. I just really enjoyed that character, and I just don't know what they're doing with Daniel Bryan right now. I feel like his character is in a limbo. He almost big showed his way through this year with his heel face turns and this different things that he's changed. I think he deserves way more than this. I think he's a bigger draw. I mean, the yes chant has transcended wrestling and become part of that. You see it at AEW shows. If this guy had a little bit more of a leash with creative and he could just do his own stuff and actually give him matches with build up that makes sense. I mean, you saw what happened last time. It was one of the best things on the show. I don't have words for it, man. It's confusing. I don't know why. He's one of the best people in the world at what he does. He should be champion and he should have a meaningful match.
And Aaron, I know you're going to bring up the super chat. You know what I feel Daniel Bryan is? He's that CM Punk after CM Punk left in terms of resonating with the fans. And I think that's ultimately hurt him because I think if the management kind of sees him as that way, as the fans do, that's kind of hurt him a little bit. And it should be a great thing. Punk left the business and Bryan became that guy, and WWE just doesn't give a crap. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, Mike D sent us 2 super chats. Mike D with the first super chat here. He says, CM Punk walking out changed all plans for WrestleMania 30, which is true because, as people noted in the chat room, originally it was supposed to be Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus, which could end up being the WrestleMania match for this year. Now, Mike D's second super chat, he said Bryan versus Braun for the IC title at WrestleMania. That could be interesting, although Braun's a babyface and Bryan's a babyface, and the whole Bryan vegan save the planet heel character is gone. Otherwise, I think that would have been a really good choice for WrestleMania. Adrian with a $2 super chat says Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus versus Braun versus Shin in a fatal 4-way match. Interesting idea, and they could end up going with a 4-way. That would not surprise me. It seems to be pretty typical where the mid-card title is defended in one of these multi-man matches. But Virtue, what do you think? Like, what do you think should be the IC title match for Mania?
You know what? Was it WrestleMania 31? I think you were there. What was the opening match? Was it the ladder? Not the pre-show, but of the normal show. Was it the ladder match that Daniel Bryan won the Intercontinental Championship?
Correct, and the crowd went nuts for that.
So if they're not going to have Bryan in the main title picture, can't they recreate something of an Intercontinental level like that? Right? You don't have to do apples to apples, but something very similar because now you have a mid-card title that felt important. You were there at that Mania. Was that not a hot opener?
Oh, yeah, it was a really hot opener. Crowd loved it, and like I said, the pop when Bryan won
ladder match
was huge.
Ladder match, and have Bryan maybe win it again. IC title.
I wish they would bring back Money in the Bank. See, I'm not a fan of Money in the Bank being right after WrestleMania because I think you could spread it out and have one Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania and then later in the year, like 6 months later, do a Money in the Bank pay-per-view with another Money in the Bank ladder match. Have 2 of them, but spread them out because what happens, it seems more often than not these days, is that they do Money in the Bank and then the cash-in happens right away and then we got nothing for almost the entire year.
Hey, did they do that in 2010? I think they had one at WrestleMania in the pay-per-view.
I think that was the year they established the Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank used to be just a match at WrestleMania, yeah.
I wish they would
Chris
bring it back.
Jericho invented it.
He did. Jericho invented everything.
But yeah, I mean, to me, if you're not going to have Bryan in main events, have him in a hot opener and go back to WrestleMania 31. That's the definition of a hot opener for WrestleMania. So, any other thoughts? I mean, NoDQ Galaxy. Any other thoughts? Anything else, Aaron, that they've asked in the chat?
Colin Andrews being a little smart ass here, saying, do you remember when Zack Ryder won the IC title at WrestleMania? And for those of you that watched NoDQ back then, you know why we do not talk about that on these videos. So, there you go.
I got one thing I'd like to get everybody's take on. Aleister Black, after what they've done this week, what do you guys think Aleister Black's future is?
He's fine. I don't think if they keep doing the losses to him, I think that could hurt him. But
what matches has he lost? To AJ yesterday?
Yeah, after everybody he had to go through 2 grueling matches, then lost to AJ Styles. But they're going to have a one-on-one match.
They're building AJ up for Undertaker.
I thought they made him too
WrestleMania
strong.
thing.
I thought they made Aleister Black look too strong, because he like the last couple weeks he's just getting the absolute crap beat out of him, and then he goes out and has a match and he competes. So I don't think if anything, I think they made him look too strong. If you're gonna have someone lose, I think that does that make AJ Styles look weak if he has to get the crap beat out of him and go through 2 guys and then still compete? I think the opposite of that. I think it made AJ Styles look weak, and I think it makes Aleister Black look amazing, because if he can compete like that while he's hurt, what can he do when he's healthy?
You know, to be honest, I'd rather see Aleister Black versus The Undertaker than AJ Styles versus The Undertaker at this point.
Sure.
Because at least Black has been on a pretty good roll in WWE, unlike AJ.
And
They should have one
interpromotional.
interpromotional match at WrestleMania where a Raw person takes on its match just for whatever, and they could have done AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan. Problem solved for both of them. You know you're going to get a solid match, and like you said, Aaron, Aleister Black versus The Undertaker. Again, they just don't have people pitching ideas. It's Vince McMahon's way or nothing.
I was just gonna say, I just feel like in this match that they're gonna have on pay-per-view, it's like Aleister Black, AJ Styles. Neither man can afford a loss right now. That's just all I'm feeling on this thing.
It'll probably be a no decision.
All right, Robbie, we're gonna do the roll the dice with Robbie Vice. I'm gonna throw this question over to you. We got a $5 super chat from Jordan Smith. He says, "What was the worst decision? Ending Goldberg's streak in WCW or turning him heel in WCW in 2000 with the New Blood, or Super Showdown? Which of the 3 was the worst?"
This isn't a rage. I don't get a rage. Did I get a rage?
No. Do you have something you would like to rage about, Virtue?
No. This is Robbie. This is Robbie's. Take it away. Roll the dice.
There's a couple things. His heel turn was dumb because he was the most over face in the company, and it was kind of weird that they did the same thing to Austin, where they did a heel turn that really didn't make sense. It didn't really resonate with anyone. I would say after that, like, ending Goldberg's streak had to happen. You can't have someone undefeated forever. It was getting to the point where early on in the gimmick, they actually were legit and they had his wins and losses, and the fans kept track of it, and that was fun. I hated Goldberg, but it was neat to see the streak grow on TV. But then, like, from Nitro to Thunder, he got like 12 more wins added to his streak, according to Tony Schiavone, and that never made sense. But the worst thing that they ever did with Goldberg was what they did at Super Showdown, because if this was 20 years ago, I would say absolutely Goldberg could squash him. But this is a 50-year-old man who thinks he's a fighter, got the crap beat out of him by Chris Jericho at one point. I just don't view him as a credible threat to any title. And plus, what does it accomplish? Because even if he puts over Roman at WrestleMania, who cares? Roman's been over. He doesn't need that rub. And if anything, I think it just devalues that Universal Championship. So Super Showdown is by far the worst.
All right, now we got a $2 super chat from The Game Is On 100. And he wants to know who all hates when WWE put themselves in a corner. I mean, I think we all agree on that. Robbie, would you agree on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's awful because if they knew how to get themselves out of corners, I'd be all for it. They suck at it. What happened with the Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan storyline from SmackDown back in the fall? They are bad. They are awful at it.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Aaron?
I just heard a cat meow.
That's my cat.
Oh, it was Robbie going.
She never meows unless I start doing these recordings. Then she wants to talk. So
she misses you.
She also hates the Goldberg Super Showdown. That's what she's telling me right now. So
yeah, don't blame your cat on that one. That's for sure.
Yeah. That's all I got for this week, unless some super chat comes in last second. But other than that, and it's happened before as we go around to do our plugs. So let's see what happens. Son, I'll start with you. Go ahead and do your plugs and take your time.
All right, so my name is spelled SONGOSHUAKU. That will be on all my social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Currently about 2/3 of the way done editing my dialogue audio for my upcoming short film, Battle Deception. If you want to check out the trailer, it's up there. I also got some new artwork video up where I made my friend into a My Hero Academia character, Bakugo, for those who watch it out there. So, yeah, if you want to check out some more of that stuff and voiceover things that I do and short films I got planned, check it out, my YouTube, and always keep supporting NoDQ. Thank you guys so much for having me on tonight.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for being on Clutch. Robbie Vice.
Well, you guys can follow me on Twitter at NoDQVice. Let me know I'm the smartest guy in the room and how the NoDQ Predictions League is no reflection on my overall intellect. It's actually just it's out to get me. I just feel like I've been robbed a couple of times with my great ideas. You can also see me. I do some videos for Andre Corbeil. I do stuff for Big Vito. I do some videos with Virtue. I'm here on the NoDQ review and predictions weekly when I can be, which is like 90% of the time. This was a really fun discussion. I like having new people on the panel. I like having new views and different things like that. Let us know in the chat what you thought of this video. And then again, tell everyone why I'm the best and that I can comment and agree with you and like your comment. So for Robbie Vice, thanks for watching. I don't know, man.
Aaron, thank you, Robbie.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, guys. Well, of course, make sure you go over to nodq.com/merch where you can pick up nodq.com gear. We got T-shirts, we got the long sleeve shirts, we got the tank tops, the mugs, the wall tapestry, which you can see in the background, the shirt that I'm wearing right now. And of course, stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest wrestling news and rumors. And tomorrow night, I'll be doing the live stream for Dynamite. And then Thursday night, we'll be doing a live stream, the NoDQ panel. Not sure which 4 it'll be. Hopefully we'll have 4. We'll do our predictions for Money in the Bank. Virtue, let's go ahead and wrap it up.
Did I get a rage this episode?
If you got something to rage, rage now.
Put the logo up.
It's up.
Look, Aaron, this all started in Chicago. I did 3 great NoDQ debate videos with Stephen Osborne. They got great reactions, great traction. They loved them. Then I did one with Chris Mace. This series needs to come back. Whether it's me versus somebody from Twitter, Robbie versus somebody from the comments down here, I don't care. You as the founder, or not, whatever you are, the leader of NoDQ, of the Dark Order, you need to make this happen. Let's get it going. I think if we can do like maybe once every other week, again, it doesn't have to be me versus, it can be Robbie versus. We need to bring this series back. And NoDQ Galaxy, let Aaron Riff know. Tweet him at Aaron Riff, at NoDQ.com, DOTCOM. Let him know we want the great NoDQ debate back now.
All
That's
right.
my rage.
All right. Well, I want to see it back as much as you. So let's get it going. All right. We got a little bit of, I guess, NoDQ review overtime, we could call it. Big G just sent it a $2 super chat. Says Robbie Vice looks like Big G with the hoodie. Okay. Do you
I don't
guys
have a hoodie
agree?
on. That's my chair.
Agree or disagree with Big G? Does Robbie Vice look like Big G with the hoodie? And Adrian with a $2 super chat. He says, CM Punk WrestleMania appearance, anyone? Feud with Roman. I would like it, but highly unlikely in all likelihood. Probably not going to happen, but I think we all would love to see CM Punk back in a WWE ring. And Darren Frazier with a $5 super chat. He says, do you think Aleister Black should be one of the new challengers for the WWE title after WrestleMania, or would that be too soon? Robbie Vice, what do you think?
Too soon. Aleister Black doesn't have enough wins, and right now he's just really mad. All I know about his character is he's really, really mad. So I think that's too soon for a title shot. There's too many people. There's too many good people who deserve a title shot to where if you're just above average like Aleister Black is, you're a B+ player, man. That's awesome, but you're not going to be a champion in WWE outside of maybe an IC run or a tag title.
All right.
Sorry.
Well, son, what do you think? After WrestleMania, what's next for Aleister Black?
Yeah, I agree. Too soon. Let Drew McIntyre have his moment. Aleister Black, I could see maybe they have him go back and defeat AJ Styles because they just wanted to build AJ up for Taker, and then they have him go ahead and get his win back. Maybe that's it. A feud with AJ Styles continues if he doesn't beat him already. And
Adrian just sent in another $2 super chat. Says Ken versus Adrian in a debate. Hey, you guys message me. We can make that happen. So, Virtue, any final thoughts on Aleister Black, and then we can go ahead and wrap it up?
No, I mean, I'll believe it when I see it, right? We know the ceiling. We know that ceiling and that brass ring, and Vince McMahon has a firm grasp on it. So, with that said, that wraps up the NoDQ review live, number 85. That rhymes. For Son, for the remarkable Robbie Vice, for Aaron Riff, I'm Virtue. You can follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue. And you know what? We'll see you soon. So thanks for watching NoDQ Galaxy. Bye.
Peace out, guys.